Hey, and Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to PCM22 Dragons episode number 6. We're into the 2024 season now, third season. This is the last one that I think is going to be a double episode for the entirety of the season. I'm hoping that we can start to slow things down in the following season as we're aiming to hopefully break into Continental Pro level. If we can manage to do that, we'll start to actually be able to compete for wins at a level that matters enough to start impacting the database. Now, at this stage, the 2 points that Kazakhstan picked up in season number 1 is still all that we have. So the 38 nations remain unchanged over the course of the last year. So training structure went up for somebody. I'll go back and check the email on that one shortly, but it was not an Asian nation. Now, partially through suggestions in the comments, but also just knowing that finances are a bit better off now. We're up to 385,000. We were over 400k earlier in the day before I made some moves, but we're starting to reshape the staff a little bit and get out of our super basic group that we had. We had 2 regional scouts previously, and they were not Asian. But when I go through the staff list, there are literally only 3 Asian scouts, period. All 3 of them coming from the same region, and they're all just regional, so they were still basic scouts, which is what we had before. So I did replace one to stay in the spirit of the playthrough. I replaced one like for like with an Indian scout, so we have somebody from the Asia Central South region, so he'll develop a boost. He was supposed to already have a boost for the region, so why he's coming in at a 1, I don't understand, because he is supposed to have a bonus for the Asia Central South region. He's supposed to start at a 2, and then after a year he would bump that to a 3, so he would have an additional bonus being from the region. It hasn't applied, so hopefully that'll kick in at some point, because it certainly should have been there. But anyway, I've gone ahead and given him the other weakest region, which that was already the weakest, so putting him on the weaker side of things made sense. He's got the double efficiency bonus, so he's got Southeast, Central South. But then I did go ahead and hire, I can't get a legendary scout, there are none available. There was about a dozen international scouts, and again, none from the region, none from Asia. But we did pick up a international level scout. I'll see if it makes a difference. If it doesn't change things, if what he's doing compared to our Indian scout, if it's not better, if he's not producing more reports and more quality reports, more higher level reports, then I'm going to end up dropping him and going to our double Asian scouts, because I really like to stay within the confines of what we were trying to do for all Asian. So hiring a staff member who's from Europe, I'm a little iffy on where I'm at on the morality of doing that. It feels like that's against what we're aiming for, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see how much of a difference it makes. So I've put him in the more impactful regions. Now, the downside to this change is these guys are down to level 1. They're not going to have the bonus this year in those categories. So I might have to give it 2 years to honestly see if it makes a difference. But I've put him in the more impactful regions, the ones that are going to make a bigger difference other than Kazakhstan. One of the notable things about this third year is we only have 2 expiring contracts on the rosters. That leaves us about 20 riders entering next season, which means we don't have to and go crazy on trying to hire some guys. We could foreseeably aim for less, but that is only if dossier wise we can actually push into some better riders, as we are still continental. Even though our profile did rise, I'm guessing it's still going to be a hard aim. Now realistically, there's not much to choose from anyway. You have Kazakhstan, you have Lutsenko, and a couple other decent riders, and then it just drops away. Lutsenko is still probably not going to be interested in us anytime soon, even if we kind of threw everything at it. Therefore, maybe the couple guys below him, we might be able to aim for them this season and spend a little more and bring those kind of guys in as leaders, as something that's going to resemble what you're getting out of Oscar or Yamamoto. But for the most part, I think the strategy of signing young riders with potential is definitely there. But this is also the season that we are wanting to get into the U23 team, so we should be able to do that now and create that. And let's go with 10 riders, and yes, there is the confirmed part. So we are going to be making the U23 team this year, and that's gonna set us up nicely to have an outlet for some of those young riders, those 18, 19-year-old riders who aren't good enough to be with us but do have some potential. No draft in year one. It just automatically fills out a roster for you, all 3 to 4 star potential guys. Only 3 of them are actually Asian, so the others will not be retained at the end of the year when we have our draft. But now that we do have our U23s in place at 1,000 each payroll, that's not bad. That's quite affordable for us, and we should be able to easily contribute that 10K going forward after that increase that we've seen in salary the last couple of years. It's now an achievable, affordable thing, and like I said, it's a great outlet for those younger guys who just aren't ready to race. We don't have to necessarily stack them all in the team. We don't need 30 guys now because we've got 10 additional there. We can cut that back to 21, 24 riders, 7, 8 per season, and then use the development team for that extra 10 slots. So we've made it into 4 higher profile Continental Pro races that could impact things if we did well enough, if we got the win, maybe, just maybe, or at least start getting the ball rolling like we did at the end of last season with the Japan Cup, where we nearly won. We got a 2nd place finish. We're going to be back at the Japan Cup again this year, so that's a punchy race that we got to focus on. But there are 3 others, all stage races, but what we need is we've got 1 mountain, so we're going to want to make sure that these 6 guys are all set with objectives for the Langkawi race, as we have that 1 mountainous stage. So bringing the best guys we can to that one, and then we're going to have we have 3 punchy races out of the other 4. And so we're gonna want to make sure that we bring these 5 guys, as you got your best climber in Alu, to those, and then one of those is a double down as a prologue, but we really don't have any sort of strength there. I mean, a 71 is the best we have, but he's only a 60 mountain, so that's not going to be helpful. It's gonna really come down to those 5 guys we were just talking about, but we're getting better in certain areas. We did bring in some classics guys that have some potential. They're not good right now, but in the sprint, we're getting stronger. Oscar up to a 77, 73 now, not quite maxed out, but he's getting close. But that's good. I mean, that's going to win Continental races left and right. Continental Pro, that's competitive, and with if you have a good lead out, you have some good guys with flat to do the lead up. The biggest problem is that 63 stamina, 70 flat. Just means you have to go a lot later than we would normally. That does make it harder. It absolutely makes it harder. But he's got a good top speed, so against weaker opposition, that can win. I've already gone through and adjusted training for all of the riders. I'm not even going to take time to talk about them, at least certainly not one by one, but I'm going to go ahead and flash through the entire team, and I want you to kind of focus in on the web. So if you're looking over here at the web, you can see how far they've come and how far they have yet to go in terms of potential, because I really didn't show that off for our year 2 signings, and we can get an update on kind of where the year one signings are at as we kind of flash through. So you can see some of these guys are like Chen. He's not going to stick around much longer, but right now he's our best lead out guy. So, you don't want to necessarily get rid of him, but excited about guys like Hadi who have fairly significant potential. There's definitely a few out here. Kayama isn't going to be sticking around. This is somebody we're going to be letting go at the end of his contract. Lahav is one of the ones with the expiring contract this year. He's nearly maxed out. He was a great addition for last season. This season, he's going to be less impactful as time goes on. Lou is another one who was a good first season pickup. He'll be with us for another year as a domestique, but for this year, he's still one of our key guys because he's that much further ahead of everybody else. Same with Oscar. He's close to his potential, but for him, being close to his potential actually makes him an effective rider. So many of these other guys, and this year in particular, most of our signings were quite young. So we've picked up a lot of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds that have significant potential. So as they grow over the next few years, I think things are going to start to look a lot more like what I'm used to seeing. They're not the 5 to 6 star potential superstars, but compared to the first season signings who helped get us going and get the ball rolling and be able to find better riders, the second year signings are going to be a lot more impactful. Now, of course, those first year signings were already down to they've got this year and next and they're out. Or, in the case of Lahav, and in the case of I think is the other one with the expiring contract. Yeah. Pretty sure he's the one with the expiring contract for this year. Yes, there it is. So those two are out. He is the last remnant of the original team, the original roster. So he's the only one remaining from there. And then I only signed Lahav to a 2-year deal. But with those guys heading out, there's no reason to bring back either one of them. I mean, even Lahav, who is okay, 70 mountains, 71 hills, he's just about maxed out. And so that's soon going to be it for him. But you can see there's a lot of potential in the group, and I am excited by the potential that we have. But at the moment, that's the main key. It's mostly potential. We got a couple guys that are starting to emerge and show up and be capable. And that's why, unlike in the previous couple of seasons, this season, I do want to give a go at those 4 higher profile races. At least just about. Like, Langkawi is 5 or 6 stages. I'm going to take the mountain stage. The rest are sprint stages. We're not going to win anything from the sprints, even if Oscar goes out, competes, and wins. That's not going to amount to anything. We need to be winning kind of the overall to get anything. I don't think you're going to necessarily get anything out of winning a stage. And I'll add Oscar to the list, but he's very likely, even if he does get that win, that's only going to help so much. You need to be taking the overall in something like that to get the kind of boost that is going to be necessary. So we'll give it the mountain stage and see what happens. If we're in position, if we do manage to get ourselves in, first, second, third kind of thing, then I can compete in the remaining stages, go for, the sprint points to get the little 1, 2, 3 second kind of time bonuses to maybe steal the win. But we start with the mountain. And if we're not good enough, we're not good enough. Right now, we're probably not good enough, but we're getting close enough to at least start making an attempt at it. Like we did with Japan. It came damn close with a second place that, we lost by a matter of inches. Barring any injuries that are going to change things up, I've set objectives for all of the riders that I want for those 4 key races, and they are the only thing that I've input into the planner. I'm going to let the AI handle the rest with the planning assistant, which is keeping things simple. One thing I have noticed, though, with a large team now, we have a lot more races than we had a year ago. The only downside, because there's a lot of upside to this one, more races, more days in the saddle means more points for the team, more opportunities for them to grow and develop. The only downside is for me to rapidly simulate through a season that I'm doing in just 2 episodes means a whole lot of hours of click, 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 quick sim, click, 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 right? It's going to take a while. But this certainly eases that process. Tour of Norway will be our second race, and then we have the Langkawi. So let's hope that we can get, one result this season in one of those 4 races that could be the start of pushing us the right direction. But ultimately, the main goal for the year, as in the years prior, is to find some more young prospects to bring into the club, into the team. But this year, looking for some development now that we have prospects with potential. I've got one better trainer than what I had in the past years, so we're starting to get to that stage where the finances are sitting in a good enough state to employ better options. And yeah, let's see what happens with the season to come. Let's start pushing forward and see what happens. By the way, it was 2 nations that saw an upgrade to training structures. It was Ecuador and the US. I think the US came in at like a 6 or something like that on training structure, so that's a pretty good boost for them, and Ecuador as well, both going up. But we'll get our turn. It'll happen. Time to add to our list of doctors, and in the entire database there's literally 1, and he's only regional. We'll get him hired, but I'll allow myself to go beyond that as we literally have no option. So update to potential of 2 riders. Santi C has gone up to a 4-star from a 3.5-star potential, while Shansak has dropped to a 3-star from a 4-star potential. Let's check in on those 2 and see how varied they are now. The outer web still looks the same to me as it did before. I'm guessing. I'm starting to get the impression that kind of the overall is more about how fast you progress than anything else, or at least I'm guessing it's something along those lines, because there's one key part of the as we're now seeing, what about that looks like a 4-star, right? that doesn't make much sense. Maybe that would be updated at a later time. The webs look the same to me at this stage. This is the curious one to me, because you have potential at 4.1431. I'm guessing that might be growth rate, because Norva Dianto, right? He's got potential still. That's not 1-star potential. For one, he's already 3-star, apparently. I don't really see it, but if that's 3-star, that is not 1-star, right? That's definitely something different. I think it has something more to do with growth rate than anything else. So you're seeing that, like, Santi C, Hadi could improve a bit more rapidly, and Li Mingyu we've already seen as somebody who's improved very slowly in the 2 years he's been with us already. But if you look at like Dimitar, looking at Tran as the guy who's going to grow a bit more quickly, Oscar is down to 3 stars. Now, I don't think that means he was bad before. I think it's just new evaluation, because he's getting close to his potential, so he's starting to slow down. Osanzada look like guys that are going to develop a little more quickly. I'm kind of guessing that is what that part is referring to. We can see we got a lot of 3 to 4-star guys now, a lot of young ones, only a couple older riders, and I'm hoping that that's going to translate. For now, I've got 2 groundbreaking guys. Make sure you don't exceed 8, by the way, as they lose efficiency once you do that. It's almost easier to have them with the wrong trader and get some development for a few kind of weaker guys that you're giving up hope on, like Li Mingyu, right? Weakest guy, 1.5 stars. I don't care about him, even though he's groundbreaking. I'll throw him with the modern trainer for the sake of space, to make sure that we are more effective in our training. The oddity of our Indian scout not getting the bonus for his home region has been resolved. He does have that bonus, so he's already at level 2 now, and we'll hope to have him, raise that bar one more point as he actually does get experienced in the area. But let's check in here. It's only January the 20th. We're barely, starting to populate our list. In fact, I don't even see any 18-year-olds at this point, so we're not going to waste much time on picking up some observation assignments right now, but it doesn't hurt to get a couple going. So here is my intent and how I'm going to start to do things a little bit differently this year in terms of scouting. Now, in past seasons, I always just attack the 18-year-olds. Attack as in, aggressively scout 18-year-olds. Reason being, if they're 16 or 17, they might not even be in the database any longer by the time they turn 18. So what's the point of really hunting them down at that point? Because you can't sign them to your U23s. You can't sign them to your team proper anyway. What are they even there for? That aspect of scouting with this game and this first iteration of it doesn't really add up. Doesn't make a lot of sense in its current format. But let's hope in year number 2 that they've come up with some sort of solution regarding that. For now, though, focusing on 18-year-olds makes perfect sense. But what I am intending to do this year is I'm going to start narrowing it down because we just don't get enough feedback with that many writers looking after. I have to pick and choose. How do I pick and choose? Well, I've got to get to the potential side to know what their value is to then really get after some of the better ones. And you still don't end up gathering enough info on them. It just doesn't pan out when you start with the entire 18-year-old pool and then start to narrow it down as you have a kind of idea of what their potential is. It's too much. I have to narrow down from the get-go. Now, the good news is I dig through the database each and every one of our 38 nations every single season as I start to do the dossiers to see what's out there, what's in the pool, what's available, what can be signed, how good can they be, and how good are they currently. I have a fallback, right? It's not only happening through scouting, but to find a good writer through scouting would be awesome. And that means I just need to start narrowing my vision a little bit to find something. And so what I'm going to do starting this year is I already have a list. I already have a list of the nations that are likely to produce the best. Kazakhstan has a training structure of 5. Training structure is going to determine quality. Popularity is going to determine quantity of writers. I'm going to get a whole bunch of writers out of a few nations that have terrible training structures. Out of those, you might find a good one. But if I have to look through 10 guys to maybe find one good one, that's a lot of time and effort that we can't afford. So I'm going to go after the nations that have the higher training structure and scout those guys, because there's a better chance that there is a good writer in that group. So Kazakhstan is priority. If I have any 18-year-olds from Kazakhstan, they will be priority number 1. But then I have my few nations, 4 of them, that have a training structure of 3. Guam, Mongolia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates, the UAE. They will get secondary priority. And then I have a lengthy list of those with a training structure of 2. If I'm lacking options, I'll grab 1 or 2 from there if they naturally start to show up as, they have maybe kind of the right qualities. They have something like, 4, 3, a strong set of what are their strengths. They may be useful to us. But yeah, starting with somebody from Kazakhstan has got to be kind of the path forward. So it'll take us a week to look at this guy, but we'll take a look at that guy. Really good news for us. We haven't even gotten out of January, and Yamamoto has leveled up. He's gone from 4 to 4.5 stars. So I have 2 of them now. If I can get one more, which we have a decent number of 3.5 star guys, if we can get one more to push 4 to 4.5 stars, we might hit that Continental Pro for the coming season. We're up to 2 leaders now. We just need a third one to get the job done. But he's almost maxed out. He's 28. We got him because it's an unusual thing for me to do in this game. But with what we're looking at, getting somebody in his prime who's got some talent is going to be helpful. Uh, doesn't mean we're going to hang on to him long term, but maybe he could be our first guy that we hang on to into his 30s. But 77 mountain now, 75 hills. Stamina, acceleration, aren't amazing or anything, but for us, a 77 mountain is phenomenal. I mean, that's huge for us at this stage. And he's going to be at all four of our key races. He's got all of them set as objectives. And here's that first big race of the year, and we pick up on the one and only mountain stage moments after Yamamoto, and now Lou and Oscar crash as well. Jeez. 2 crashes back-to-back, moments apart, and that's going to put a number of guys behind. Lahav, Bagarov were already dropping to come support. I'm going to go ahead and have these two drop as well and have these guys pace back our leader, because our leader is actually one of the favorites on the day. 4 of them, they should easily catch the field. 107 left in the peloton for now. 6 others off the back. They were involved in the wrecks, I believe. And we're down to 1 rider in the peloton. The breakaway has 10. They are just over 2 minutes ahead. And let's keep an eye on what that gap is, as we are almost 4 minutes back. Still just inside 4 minutes behind. We're not gaining much ground, even with 4 guys pushing at an 87. This is rough. This is gonna hurt so much on our chances for this race, because it is quite clear that the peloton is pushing hard. In fact, we are now more than 4 minutes behind. They are catching the breakaway pretty rapidly. Let's see if them catching the breakaway will result. You can see that Lee is struggling to keep his position, riding at a 75 in the pack, and that group is now just 10. Yeah, okay, they're just not really contributing enough. I mean, Lahav's at the tail end, down to 57k. I mean, this has taken a lot out of us to try to chase a group. We've brought it back finally within 4 minutes, but barely. That 30 seconds that they pulled out. And they're still a minute and a half behind the break. How much of the break is left? There's only 37 left in the peloton. So the group is disintegrating. It's like they saw us crash, and instead of doing what happens in real life 9 times out of 10, or 95 times out of 100, they put their foot down. They smelled blood. They have accelerated hard. But we've destroyed almost 4 guys trying to chase this thing. But we're still 3.5 minutes behind the tail group, which is not the peloton at this stage. This is really not looking good for us. And Yamamoto was amongst the favorites for the day, and I don't think it's going to happen. Yes, we've kept him fresh, but he's going to have 0 support, even if we do manage to get him back up there. And right now, it's not looking terribly likely, and none of these other guys in this group are pushing hard enough to participate in pulling it back. Peloton now just 20 seconds left. Will they sit up a bit once they catch these 10 riders? The gap that was almost out to 5 minutes is down to 4:07, so they seem to have lifted the pace a little bit as they approach the base of the climb. But from 4 minutes behind, Yamamoto, this has got to be a 0 chance type scenario. That's not the peloton. That is the group that got dropped. But as he goes to climb, he needs to just get on with it. And I don't know, what kind of pace can we realistically try to climb at for 20k? Not that pace. Yamamoto drops all but 3 immediately. There's the Mongolia national champion. He's a 70-70. And obviously he's making progress, but he's doing so in a way that's hurting himself. Peloton coming back together. It's at 101. He's definitely making some rapid forward progress here. But again, he's doing it at quite the cost, and it's still now 324 behind as the front group. Clearly, an acceleration has happened. One rider off the front. So the favorite heads up the road. Lee doesn't have much. Yamamoto doesn't have much. He catches another group. He's passing group after group. He's halfway up the climb, and he's burned through much more than half of the energy. So he really cannot maintain that, and you can see just how far behind he is. Of course, he's literally doing all of this alone, where Stown Minute has had some help in this and attacked much later. And this is another guy we raced against recently. Decent rider. You can see Lee not strong enough on his own. Yamamoto not strong enough to do the entire 20K alone. Unlucky. Double crash. Lost virtually the entire team, and the peloton decided to accelerate when he went down, and that's it. He's out of energy. Still 320 behind, so really only pulled back a minute. Lee makes it to the final 7, but he's now out of energy, and there go the 7 ahead. Final 7 of the peloton, 7 up the road. Imagine what could have happened if we didn't have those crashes. I think we would have been up here competing with these two. Probably not beating this one, though. Lee hanging in there energy-wise, but the favorite comes away with the win anyway. And poor Yamamoto never quite caught up to Lee. Ended up 2 minutes behind his teammate. Recovers well enough to get a top 15. But, yeah, sad events for the day. The good news is I have 3 more races totaling 5 stages that we are going to focus on over the remainder of this calendar year, which means I think we're actually going to get back to a 3-episode season as a result. That's going to go ahead and do it for this one. We've got our season introduction. Next up will be Tour of Norway, where we have 2 stages, 2 punchy stages to focus on. We'll see what we can do with those and hope that things go a little better and we don't have such poor luck with a double crash that put us 4 minutes behind on a day that the front group just attacked from that moment and never let up. At the very end, Lee was 4 minutes down on Stown Minute and ended up Yamamoto at nearly 6 minutes down by the end as he bonked out, before the top of the climb, which seemed inevitable from the base. I mean, we just did what we could to make progress. But like I said, we got all the way back to 15th, which is pretty dang good, all things considered, where he was right at the back of the field. I think there was like 1 rider behind us, and that was about it. So from virtually last to 15th over the course of a single climb is certainly progress. But it wasn't enough. And yeah, hard to say what it might have been. He was expected a +1. He had a -1 draw on the day. I mean, multiple things working against him and against us on that one. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.